To get into ISRO is almost the dream of every engineer or of every science enthusiast who is doing his or her bachelor's, master's, or even PhD. The reason can vary. It can be the status and also the, respect that you will be getting. That when people will hear that you are the scientist of ISRO. For some, it can be the work that they will be doing in the organization. I am not here to judge your reason, but the thing is that I have appeared for the interview of Indian Space Research Organization in this year. So the main question remains that after ISRO has resumed its recruitment, so are the questions that will be asked in the interview still remain same? Are the HR questions still valid for the ISRO interview preparation or they have changed? And how are the panelists now? And how are the mechanical engineering questions? Are the same? Are the pattern of the questions same as which were asked before ISRO has stopped recruiting for 2 years? So all these valid questions will be answered in this story of my interview in Indian Space Research Organization. So stay tuned. Now, I always bring this kind of videos which can help you to achieve your dreams and your goals. Other than that, I always try to solve the prevailing problems regarding gate preparation, regarding your lifestyle and productivity with a completely new style and new approach. So, if you are interested with that, and if you feel that this guy is doing something for us, I will request you to hit that subscribe button, please. That will work as a motivation for me. You all know that. And I know that you will do that for me. Just one simple thing, right? So, without any further delay, let's just jump into the story. Now, let us formally discuss that what you can expect from this video. Obviously, I will be talking about my journey, that how did I reach the interview center? Did they provide any travel allowance? Did they provide any accommodation? How was the food there? All those things I will be sharing with you. Other than that, obviously, the interview experience, which documents you should bring with you, and obviously, the most important and interesting part that how were the panelists? Were they supportive or were they rude? And the exact questions and answers I will be talking and showing you in this video, which I was being asked. So now let us start with the start. So I filled up the application in 2023. Okay. And I don't recall the exact month, but uh, almost after 6 to 7 months of the filling of the application form, the examination happened and it was 7 January 2024. So honestly, I'll be very honest here that I was doing my M.Tech in IIT Kharagpur then, and still I'm doing that. It will be completed in 2025. And I was like, "Ki, okay, ISRO has almost forgotten, so I will not be very much, dedicated for it. So I will just give the exam or just appearing for the exam because I have paid the fees. So I appeared for the exam, but I appeared for the exam diligently. But after that, almost 4 to 5 months after the examination happened, they published the shortlist. So in the first shortlist, my name was not there. I was a bit astonished because I thought that okay, I did not prepare that much well, but still I gave the exam in a, pretty good manner. Okay. So almost I corrected 60% questions at least. Okay. It was, even more than that. So I was a bit heartbroken. But after 1 month, I got the mail that your interview is on this date and you have to appear for the interview at VSSC, Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. I was like, कि कुछ गलती हुआ क्या इनसे? Because I checked the shortlist that I am not that I was not there. But after that, I heard that they have published a revised shortlist. So then I was like, okay, so that was interesting. So this was the story of my selection for the interview. It was a bit, tricky. Okay. So my interview was scheduled on, as far as I remember, it was on the September. I'm not sure about the exact date and the month. Okay. So those are the not uh, those are not the things which are very important. That can vary. That duration can vary from year to year, right? But I will talk about that what is important. The main thing is that they will not provide you any accommodation, so you have to think about your own accommodation. And for mechanical engineering this year, the interview was in the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center in Thiruvananthapuram. So that is a very beautiful city, and you can also do some sightseeing, okay, because there is Kovalam Beach, okay, that is very near the center, and also within 100 kilometer you will having Kanyakumari. So you can have sightseeing also there after your interview gets over. So okay, now let me back about the interview. So you have to take care of your own staying, own accommodation. Okay. So I have heard with my fellow aspirants, fellow interview candidates, that some of them have stayed in a hotel that is near a station called Kochuveli. Okay. So near that station there is a hotel, and that hotel is, I think, pretty much affordable. But I did not stay there. I stayed in a hotel which was almost 10 to 15 kilometers away from the VSSC, and it was named as the Grand Chaitra. Okay. So it can be a bit expensive for many of the students. Okay. So if you can, then you can stay there. That is a very nice hotel. Okay. So very comfortable and cozy hotel. But obviously, staying in a comfortable and cozy hotel is not the purpose that you are you are going to fill there. Okay, the main purpose is to appear and to crack the interview. I am just telling you the options, but the main thing is you have to take care of your own accommodation, right? And they will provide you the TA, the travel allowance, and it will be the second class. Okay, second class non-AC train fare. Okay, so it will be the shortest. You can have a train like it will travel through a very large distance from this to this to this. No, they will provide the fare for the train which will travel the shortest distance. Okay, so if you are staying in Mumbai, from Mumbai to Thiruvananthapuram, there must be the shortest path of journey. Maybe you have to take more than one trains, but according to that shortest path, they will provide you the travel allowance, the second class non-AC train fare. Okay. Now, this was all about the travel allowance. Now, I was called at 8:30 a.m. in the morning at ISRO Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. So the security was really very hard, and I can remember that we have to submit our backpacks along with our phones and all the things in a particular room, and we had to show also our Aadhaar card to the security. Okay, and after that we were allowed to the interview center, and we were only allowed to carry the documents and the essentials. Okay, other than that we were not allowed to carry anything. So after we went into the interview center, we were asked to sit in a room, and then the document verification began along with the biometric authentications. Okay, so then one by one the aspirants were called. So I was so okay. In each and every day, almost 30 to 35 aspirants were called, and it was all total of 1,000 aspirants. And as far as I can recall, the vacancy was 181 for mechanical engineering. So it was a considerable amount of vacancy this year because ISRO has stopped their recruitment for past 3 years, right? So because of that thing only, the vacancy number has increased a lot. Now, I was the, I think, 28th number. But among those 30 aspirants who were being called, only 24 showed up. But still, I was the second last candidate. So I waited for the whole day for my turn to come. I waited, and but there was a very good thing that they provided the snacks and also they provided the lunch for free. And both of them were very good, both in terms of test and health. Okay. Now I talked with the fellow aspirants who completed their interview, and honestly, there was no pattern at all. There was no pattern at all. I have heard that for some of the candidates, they were asking just from their M.Tech thesis, just from their work profile, and nothing else. Okay. I have heard that from some of the aspirants, they were just asking the academics. And academics means, again, most of the hard questions were from manufacturing. Okay. And I have also heard that for someone, the interview was totally personal. It was not HR like thing. I mean, you don't have to answer the facts about ISRO. You have to answer I mean, how was the work-life balance in your previous organization? But these type of questions were very less. Okay. You have to answer either from your M.Tech thesis or B.Tech thesis or from your work profile or from the pure academics. But there was no pattern that this guy will be asked from this guy will be asked from that. Only one pattern is there, that is if you are doing M.Tech that I was doing. Then they will only ask from your specialization. So this is the case for almost any scientific organization other than BRs. I have also appeared for the interview of DRDO and I got selected as the scientist of DRDO. And here is the interview experience. So in DRDO also same thing happened, that because I have a specialization and I am doing my M.Tech, they will be only asking you from that specialization. Okay. So for my case also, it was the same. Okay. That they asked me only from my specialization and nothing else. So very important thing to notice is that the HR questions were nil. As far as I remember, I have talked with my fellow aspirants also. None of them were asked anything about ISRO. It was a trend to ask about at least 2 to 3 questions about ISRO before they stopped their recruitment. So this is a change in the interview pattern. This can again change if the interview board changes next year. Okay, but this is a noticeable change. So now let me talk about my interview story. Okay, so here I hope you can see my screen now. So I entered in the interview hall almost at it was 6:15 p.m. So I entered in the interview center at 8:30 a.m. and my interview started at 6:20 p.m. Okay. So you can actually estimate that what was the situation, because honestly I am not that guy who will say you that okay, I am very much cool like a sage. No, I also have palpitations, I also have tensions that what will happen and not. So I was also being very much tense, but I will thank to my fellow aspirants that we had a very good time talking to each other, gossiping about so many things that the time was very good. Okay. I spent a very, I mean, charming time with all of them. Okay. It was, we discussed about funny things and all these things. So, a shout out to all of my ISRO fellow candidates. Okay. Now, let me start. So, when I entered the interview hall, it was a big hall and almost 10 to not 10, 12 to 15 scientists were there surrounding me. So I was like stunned. कि okay, अब तो थोड़ा डर लग रहा है. Okay. And just in front of me, the chairman was sitting. So firstly, he asked me that introduce yourself. So now here is one tip, that for ISRO and DRDO, you should be totally in a formal attire. So I was in a formal attire and I was also wearing a tie. Okay. And obviously shirt and pant and boot, black shoe. So, and you should a bit practice about the introduction part. Okay. Obviously, if you fumble a bit, that will not matter a much. But if you don't fumble and if you give a very good and smooth introduction, that will be an advantage for you a little bit. Okay. So before starting the interview questions, I should tell you the fact that they will give some extra marks if you have secured a CGPA of above 8 or something, and if you have secured a rank in first to third, I mean either the rank 1 or 2 or 3, then also there is some additional marks. Other than that, if you have done your B.Tech or M.Tech from any institute which is under the NIRF 20 ranking, then also there is some extra marks. Other than that, if you have done your B.Tech or M.Tech from any IIT or NIT, then also there is some extra marks. Okay, these are the things that I feel that I should make you aware about. Now let me start about the questions. So obviously the first question was the introduction. The first thing was the introduction, right? That introduce yourself. Then I told about the thing. So here one more pro tip: if you are doing M.Tech or PhD, please tell that. Don't be shy to tell all these things. I mean, people think that if I tell about the M.Tech, so then they can ask me some advanced question. That is true. But you should also know that if you are doing M.Tech, they will prefer something who is doing the higher studies. Okay. So uh, here the pro tip is don't be shy. Don't be shy telling about your higher studies. Okay. So then the chairman asked me. So now the interview started with the chairman. Okay. So he asked me, okay, Soham, we have so many governing equations for the fluid flow, like the Navier-Stokes, the potential flow, the Euler's equation. So can you tell me that we can use the which equation in which condition? So then he added that you should tell with respect to an aircraft. Okay. So which equation to use at which condition an aircraft? So honestly, fluid mechanics is one of the fields in which I feel very much confident. So I answered it beautifully that okay, if I have an aircraft, then near the surface of the aircraft, the viscosity will be there. Then I have to apply the Navier-Stokes equation and more precisely the boundary layer equations. And outside the aircraft, now I made the mistake. I said that I will apply the potential flow equation. Okay. So, I mean, it was actually partially correct. So, I told that near the surface, Navier-Stokes and away from surface, potential flow equation. Now, chairman directly countered me that, okay, can you always apply the potential flow equation away from the surface? Always potential flow equation. Then I understood my mistake and I told, no, sir, it will not be the always case. Then he asked me, so I answered no. Then he asked me that when potential flow equation is valid. Potential flow is valid. I directly answered that when the flow is irrotational. So for irrotational flow. Then he directly asked me, so it was a type of rapid fire. Okay, so I should mention here that unlike DRDO or BAR, you will get a very less time to answer each and every question in ISRO. They will not ask very large and lengthy question. They will ask you only the short questions. But here also there was an there was an exception for my interview. Okay, there was one large question, but almost you will get mostly the short short level questions, okay, which you have to answer within a few seconds. Either you know it or you don't know it. So my tip will be that don't waste your time. Don't try to fake them. If you don't know it, tell them that I don't know it. Okay. So irrotational flow. So then he asked me that when uh, when a flow is called irrotational. Okay. So I answered that curl of B is 0. Okay. So then he asked me that, okay, that is the mathematics, but physically, what brings irrotationality or I mean rotationality in the flow? So physically, okay, what brings rotationality? Rotationality. So then I was like, yeah, rotationality means it is the I mean rotation. Then I told that it can be various things like viscosity and all those things. And sir was not satisfied. He actually continued that physically, I mean, which thing can bring I mean rotationality into the flow. So then I was stunned that okay, I don't know. I was not getting that what he's trying to ask me. Okay, so now I'm getting it. So he was trying to, he was trying to get the answer that vortices. But in my mind, I was thinking, okay, vortices and rotationality, they are the synonyms. I mean, they are type. If if this is there, then this will be also there. I mean, these are the exactly same terms. A vertical flow, also a rotational flow. Vortices are there, that means it will be a rotational flow. But now I think that he was trying to get the answer vortices. Okay, so I was failed to answer this question. Now he asked me that, okay, if I have a subsonic flow, subsonic, supersonic, and hypersonic flow, then in which case you can have the irrotational flow. Subsonic, supersonic, hypersonic. Okay. So here I gave a blatantly wrong answer. I told that it will be supersonic and subsonic. So the logic I applied that in the supersonic or hypersonic, the effect of viscosity will be, very much low because it is a very high speed, and that is why there will be no rotation induced. But that is totally wrong because in supersonic and hypersonic flows, there are shocks, and shocks induce vortices. So the answer will be wrong. But that is okay. So I gave the wrong answer. That is okay. I mean, I cannot do anything here. So this is the thing that you will give wrong answers. That is perfectly fine. And I was seeing that the interviewer was not satisfied. The chairman was not satisfied. But that is the key tip that you have to keep your mind calm. And I was very lucky that even if the interviewer or the chairman was not satisfied, he was not rude. He was very calm. And that is why I was also able to keep my mind calm. Okay. So in this case, I was a bit lucky. If the chairman was like, "Are kya answer de rahe ho? What are you telling? You don't know anything." Okay. So I have experienced many interviews. I have also seen this type of interviewers where the chairman was not of this type. Okay. So I gave the wrong answer here. So now he told me, okay, let us forget it. Now you tell me that what are the assumptions of Navier-Stokes equation? Okay. So assumptions of Navier-Stokes equation. Okay. So I was very confident about Navier-Stokes equation. Navier-Stokes equation is almost my favorite equation. Okay. So I told all the assumptions. Okay. All the assumptions I told correctly. And he was satisfied. Then he asked me one more question, that if I have a steady flow through a converging nozzle, then will I have acceleration or not? So steady flow through a converging nozzle, I am just drawing it. Okay. So acceleration will be there or not? I am just, writing the things in a very brief manner, will be there or not. So I answered, said obviously yes. Then he asked me why. Why? Then I said, sir, because we have two components of acceleration. one is temporal, another is convective. Okay, so temporal plus convective. Now, because the flow is steady, this component will not be there, but this component will be there because the change in area is there. Okay, okay. Now, obviously, the most accurate answer will be that it will also depend on the compressibility of the flow. Okay, okay. So, this was the question asked by the chairman. Okay. So here I gave the wrong answer for only one question. That is this thing, the supersonic, hypersonic, this one. Okay, fine. So this was the part of fluid mechanics. Then panelist 2 started to ask me question. Okay, so he started to ask that draw a slab on the board. So there was a, whiteboard. Okay, so draw a slab of thickness T. Okay, so I drew a slab of thickness T, and from one side there was the flow of hot gas. Okay, and we are having H1 comma T1, the heat transfer coefficient and the temperature of the gas. Okay, or we can see, as far as I remember, they gave me T1 and T2 as the surface temperatures on the two sides. And here we are having flow of a coolant, Okay. And here the heat transfer coefficient was H2. Clear? Then they asked me uh, if the temperature of the hot gas is Tg and the coolant is Tc, can you write the heat transfer equation? So then I started to write inside this block there will be conduction equation. Okay, so let me first write the question. Okay, so can you write heat transfer equations? Then I started to write that, yes sir, in the block I will be having del 2t, del x2. I started to write like this. But then they asked me, no, we are not asking about the full, we are not asking about the differential equation. We are asking about only the, integral form. Then I understood that they are asking something like this. So I will not give you the answer here, but because that will, okay. So let me give H1 into T gas minus T1 into A is equal to K into A. Okay, then it will be your T1 minus T2 by T. Okay, and that will be equal to H2. Okay, T2 minus T coolant. They were satisfied. Then they continued. Can you tell us that how to find H2 or H1? So how to find H2 or H1? Then I continue that, yes sir, it is like a flow over a flat plate of a forced convection. Okay, it is like a flow over a flat plate and a forced convection, and that is why we have a direct correlation. We have the mathematics by which we can find the Nusselt number. So then I told the Nusselt number was, now I forgot the expression, and I told them very humbly, these are the tips, note this. I forgot the expression. I told them very humbly that, sir, I have studied this, I have derived the mathematical equation, but currently I don't recall the exact form. They were said that, okay, we are not interested in the exact form. You have to just say that Nusselt number will be a function of which things, which flow parameters, which numbers. Then I continued very confidently that it will be a function of RE and PR. They looked satisfied. Then they asked, so you tell me that on which flow properties the heat transfer coefficient will depend. So, of which flow properties? Okay. Then I obviously continued. In RE, we have the velocity, rho, and the D, the characteristic length. In PR, we have nu, the thermal diffusivity, alpha, we also have the viscosity. They look totally satisfied. Then they asked me, do you know about the which thing? The Joule-Thomson coefficient. Do you know the Joule-Thomson coefficient? Okay. I told them, yes, sir. This is the del T del P at constant H. This is the Joule-Thomson coefficient. They said, explain it physically. I told the physical meaning, that the change in temperature with respect to the change in pressure when the enthalpy is constant, and it is an irreversible. Sorry. It is not an irreversible process. Okay, it can be an irreversible process, it can be a reversible process, but it is the change in temperature with respect to change in pressure at constant enthalpy for any process. Okay. So then they told me that what is the significance of this with respect to refrigeration? Okay. Or then they changed their question that, okay, do you know about inversion temperature? Inversion temperature. Okay. Then I continued that, yes, I know. Okay. So it is the temperature at which the Joule-Thomson coefficient is 0. JT coefficient is 0. Okay. Then they were like, okay, that is correct. But now you tell me that if the temperature is above the temperature of inversion, okay, then what will happen? With the increase of pressure, will the temperature decrease or not? So then honestly, this is not something that you can derive then. You have to just recall it. And I forgot. But recalling the wrong thing and I gave a wrong answer. Okay. So here again a tip, I made a bad mistake. I could have told that, okay, sir, I am not recalling it. Sorry. But I gave the wrong answer instead of telling that. Don't make this mistake. This was a very bad mistake from my side. Okay. So this can put a negative impression. Okay. This was a bad mistake. And this is not something that you can always derive. This you have to memorize. Okay. Okay. So this was the thing. Now they asked me that, do you know that what is, I mean, that critical thickness of insulation? Critical thickness of insulation. So this is a very easy question, right? And I was also very much confident that, okay, I know this. So then I continue that if we are having a body where the area is varying with the distance, like a cylinder or a sphere, then we can insulate it, and there will be a particular radius at which the heat transfer will be minimum. So I was very confident and I confidently gave the wrong answer. It was the concept that if they asked me to derive it on the whiteboard, then I can derive it pretty well. But in that time, I don't know that why I gave this answer, that it will be the heat transfer is maximum. But I gave the answer that the heat transfer is minimum. Then they told me that, okay, you tell me that after that what will happen? Heat transfer will decrease or increase? Then suddenly I can recall that the heat transfer will decrease. But then I again recall that I have just given the answer that the heat transfer is minimum, so then it should increase. Then one scientist laughed a bit, okay, because it was totally a wrong answer of a very easy question. So these two parts were my main mistake. Okay, I still do regret. These were the very easy questions. Okay. But I don't know that why did I made the mistake in this part. I am just sharing with you my grievances. Okay. I mean, like, why did I do that? I don't know that in that time where my brain was. Jovio, let us proceed. What can I do now? Now, one professor asked me, sorry, one scientist asked me that, okay, now you tell me, do you know about throttling? So I, I told that, yes, sir, throttling is an irreversible process at which the pressure will decrease for sure and the enthalpy will be same. So I answered this pretty well. Now he asked me a very important question. That, okay, if the enthalpy is same, then why the temperature will decrease? we use the throttling in an RAC, right? In a refrigeration cycle. Now you are saying that enthalpy is constant, and that is right. But if enthalpy is constant, then how the temperature is decreasing or increasing? Jobio, it will decrease for a refrigeration cycle. But why that is happening? That you have to find. Now I will suggest you to pause the video and just think by yourself for some time. The next two questions will be very interesting, and this question is one of them. Okay, that is, in throttling, H is constant, but temperature is decreasing. How? Okay. So then I was again confused, but in that confusion, I gave the right answer. That, sir, for an ideal gas, the temperature will be constant if H is constant. But for a real gas, the temperature will decrease if H decreases. Sorry, if H, I mean, even if H is constant. I did, I told that for ideal gas, H constant, that means temperature constant. But for real gas, H is not a function of temperature only. H is not a function, or I should say that H is a function of temperature and pressure. Okay. And also I can say for specific volume, but it is okay if I give the two values, two thermodynamic properties according to the state postulate. So this was the right answer, but I don't know why the scientists were looking like, okay. I mean, they were not fully satisfied, but this is the right answer. Okay. Then they asked me that, okay, now I will ask you a very hard question. They told me this thing. That now I will ask you a very hard question. And you can estimate that how will be my mentors, I mean, scenario that time. Okay, now they will ask me, I mean, now they are telling me that they will put me in trouble. So they asked me, draw a TS diagram on the board and show me the stagnation temperature on the TS diagram. So show stagnation, or I will write it in a TST on TS diagram. Okay. First of all, I got confused that, okay, I drew the TS diagram, okay, like this, and this is TS, but I can draw any point here. I can say this is my stagnation. So I was honestly confused. Okay, so I stopped for a few minutes. Then he augmented that, okay, draw a constant pressure line on the TS diagram. Okay, so a constant pressure line on TS diagram. Okay, so I continued, and so if this is the TS diagram, I drew like this. That this will be a constant pressure process. They look satisfied that fine, there is some P constant. Then he told me, now you can draw. Now I could recall that, okay, for stagnation temperature, if I have to go from a particular temperature to the stagnation temperature at the corresponding point, then I have to follow a constant entropy path. So then I drew a line like this. Then they all laughed. That, I mean, what this guy is doing? I mean, now one scientist said that first you have to draw the first point, then with respect to that, you have to show the stagnation temperature. Now at that time, I was being very tense that all are just, I mean, laughing. Then what will happen? So then that scientist helped me. Okay, that, okay, first you draw up. So first you give a name that this is P1. Now can you write the correlation between stagnation between P1 and the stagnation pressure corresponding to that? So I wrote that, I mean, very beautifully, that P1 by half rho V1 square is equal to PS stagnation. So then he told me, okay, now you draw another constant pressure line at which the pressure is PS. I drew it like this. It will be obviously larger. Okay. So then he told me that draw a particular point on the I mean P1, and then draw a particular point. Okay. So this is the particular point on P1. Then they asked me, draw the corresponding stagnation pressure. Okay. So then I drew it like this. I mean, sure that this will be a straight line. Okay. I showed like is with the arrow. Okay. Then he asked me that why this will be a straight line and not a curved line. Okay. Why this will be a straight line and not a curved line. So then I was like, "Ki here I am having a constant. I can I can just here I have a constant, and that means this will also be a constant increase. This will also be a constant increase. But no, he was not asking that. That he was asking, okay, this will be a constant increase, but I can reach to this point through this path also and this path also. Then I was not getting his question actually. Then I answered that, sorry, sir, I am not getting your question. So then another scientist asked me that, tell me that how can you achieve the stagnation point? So how to achieve the stagnation point? Okay, stagnation point. Then I told him that I have to go in a adiabatic and reversible manner from a particular point. Okay, so the exact thing that I told was that I have to put the fluid at a complete rest in a adiabatic and reversible manner. So then he said, right. So then answer. So then I answered in a very uh, silent way. I mean, I was not very much confident. My voice was a bit dim. So I answered that, okay, sir, constant entropy, it will be the constant entropy. Then the scientist was like, oh, yeah, that was the thing that I was trying to hear. That was the thing. That's thing. That was the thing that I was finding. So then he looked satisfied. So the constant entropy. And because it is a constant entropy, that is why it is a straight line. So I was not getting his question actually. Then I told him, sorry, sir, I was not getting his question, but he told me, don't worry, beta. I was asking you a very hard question. I mean, intentionally. Okay. So then the final question came and he told me, listen to me very carefully. The final question is that this is a constant entropy uh, process to achieve the stagnation temperature. Now, how can you represent a natural process? So then he first asked me that, is this thing natural? Is this thing natural? I told him, no, sir. Then he told me, okay, now you draw a natural uh, process that will go from PS to P1. Okay, now you have to draw on the same diagram. Okay, so draw the process, okay, or draw PS to P1 at the same graph. Okay, for a natural process. Okay, so then I drew it like that. Okay, this will be something like. So then he told me that why this is the case. So then I just spoke only one word, that is the second law of thermodynamics. So then he told me, thank you, sir. That is fine. And the last question he asked me, the chairman asked me, that you have studied aerodynamics in your B.Tech. So do you, recall any of the thing? So I did answer, is right. So I told that, sir, I will try. Okay. So then he asked me that, do you know the name of the great scientist Prandtl? So Prandtl, do you know? I told him yes. So then he told me, then can you tell me his one of the most important contributions in aerodynamics? I told them, sir, yes, I can tell that that is so contribution. Sorry for the handwriting. Okay, contribution in aerodynamics. So I told the boundary layer theory. Then he told me, no, that is the contribution in general fluid mechanics, but in the aerodynamics. So then I was like, कि और क्या हो सकता है? So then he gave me a hint that how can you calculate the lift? So how can you calculate the lift or an aircraft? I told them that, sir, I can calculate by the Kutta Zhukovsky theorem. Okay, so then they said, okay, but how can you model the lift further? So I told them, sir, I am not recalling. Okay, so how to model it? So then they told me, have you heard about uh, anything like Prandtl's, lifting line theory? So this is a bit advanced topic. Okay. So Brandel's lifting line theory. Okay. So fortunately, I have studied this. Okay. I told them, sir, yes, I have studied this. So then they told me, then can you describe it? So I was like, sir, there are some vortices like those. So then they asked me, okay, you tell me that from where you are getting the vortices. Now, this is one of the most confusing questions in aerodynamics, that how can you achieve lift? Okay. So vortices actually we can get. So I will not go into very deep, but I can answer you in a same thing, that like different people will want different type of answers for this question. So then they told me the answer, that do you know that there is boundary layer when the aircraft is going? I said, yes, sir. Then then he told me that is the boundary layer is a vertical flow or a non-vertical? Okay. So I am not, I mean, just, I'm not, okay, let me write this here. So boundary layer. So vertical or non-vertical or non-vertical. I told them, sir, yes, obviously vertical. Then they told me, yes, very good. So that is the source of the vortices. Okay. So then that was the end of my interview, and I I think that they were satisfied. Okay, because I answered a very tough question. But that is the thing, that please go through my mistakes that I have made. I have made some mistakes. Go through that mistakes. Okay, that, and I don't want you to make the same mistakes. Okay. So this was the interview, full of happenings, so many things. Okay. Some uncomfortable situations, some good questions, my good answers, my bad answers, all these things are there. Okay. Now there are so many interview experience. There is my IISc interview experience and my DRDO interview experience. So I will meet you in those videos if you are there. Until then, goodbye, take care, and thank you. Hey, wait, don't go. Please subscribe to my channel.